Hi everyone. I'm here today to ask you a question. Are you a possibilitarian? So, what's a possibilitarian? In my way, I look at it, a possibilitarian is somebody who converts possibility to actuality. He's somebody, and this is for all of us here, that the role of a possibilitarian is to do something not only with what's at hand, but also to dimly look into the future. So today, through this next couple of minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you my little journey of how I became a possibilitarian, what I did to convert something from possibility to actuality, and I'm going to share this through little life lessons that I learned. You know what's interesting about the lessons of life that you learn? How is it different from the lessons of classrooms? Think of it. Experiential, correct? But there's something more interesting to them. The lessons of life are very interesting because you get the exams first and then you get to learn the lesson. They're not unlike the boring classrooms. So that's the beauty about the life lessons. So I'm going to share with you a couple of stories of mine of how I got the exams first and then I learned the lessons. You know, every time you look at something, you have to look at it in your own perspective. I always say this: when Newton saw the apple, he saw the laws of gravity. And when Steve Jobs saw the apple, he gave me a Mac computer that's not compatible with anybody. You know? Even the airports are searching for me now. I don't know what to do. But the beauty is that you look at each problem in a unique way, correct? Somebody asked me this question. In one of the medical schools that I was speaking at, a student walked to me later and asked me, "Doctor, can you tell me how do I get a brilliant idea?" And it was a very spontaneous question, so I gave him a rightfully spontaneous answer. I said, hold on to one patient's problem all through your life, and you'll be flooded with ideas. You know, this is the beauty of it. A single problem, a single person has a soul to it. Innovate for individuals, because individuals have a soul to them. When you innovate for markets, you fail because numbers can lie. But when you innovate for individuals, you can take that individual and you can make it into masses, and masses can become markets. So I keep using this as a formula for myself and for others to tell them that innovate for individuals, they have a soul to the problem. Sometime back, a lady walked to me, a very dear friend, and we were having a casual chat. She told me something very interesting and intriguing which got my attention. She said, Vishal, one of the worst things that happened to me was not the breast cancer, but the mammogram that I went through in the breast cancer. She said that was the worst thing that happened to me. That was the one that actually kind of demeaned my dignity. I thought to myself that evening, I think never has somebody spoken on this. On a very close note, she shared this with me. I that day went and I sit and I was doing a lot of digging and reading, and there's one thing that I came to know on that all the aspects of innovation in mammogram were done by men. And I felt to myself, gendered innovations is needed. And today I think Target Ideas Forum is the apt forum for technology for women. I think this is the forum that needs to talk about gendered innovation, that needs to talk that technology is too serious to be left to men alone. And I think it's aptly needed. You know? And you don't need to be a boy to be playing Temple Run. You need to look at each aspect of this in its own way. So the beauty of a problem is to look at it in your own perspective, and that's very, very important in innovation. It's not easy to get a good question. I found my question after 10 years on throat cancer. How many of you all here have woken up to this brilliant idea one morning, Googled up and found that somebody stole it? Correct? That Nobel Prize winning idea, somebody's raising their hands. I think they just got it this morning. It quite often happens. It's not easy to get a good question. You really struggle with good questions. I found mine after 10 years. I was staring at this problem for 10 years until I bumped up on this particular answer. Throat cancer patients live a very difficult life. Just think of it for a second. Turn to the person sitting next of you and try to introduce yourself to them, just to realize that you can't talk. Not because you're in this forum, but because you've lost your voice. Just think of it for a second and imagine how difficult it is to express your identity to that person. These patients live without voice for years because these patients after throat cancer, their voice box is removed and they can't speak. I used to live with them for years and years, not understanding what to do. There were solutions for them. You know, the standard solutions cost somewhere around 45,000 rupees just for the machine that has to be replaced every 6 months. And that's why most of the people in India, or in more than 85% of the countries of the world, are not even able to afford them because they are out of their reach. And the purchase power parity, for example, of an average Indian is less than $2 a day. So most remain in silence. So I was deeply upset about this, and there are only two companies in this world that actually manufacture this. One is American and the other one is European. And there's no solution for them because they are not able to reach the markets. So this is the basic cost, and then the adds to the cost of the procedures and other things. So the question is, what could I have done to actually change this game? And that's when I thought to myself that I'll make something that's affordable, accessible, and accessible. Now, there were three philosophies in this. One thing I believed was that if I want to donate clothes, I will not donate torn old clothes. I'll donate a poor man, a Benetton or a Tommy Hilfiger, because even a poor man deserves the best. Now, the other aspect of this is that charity is powerful only with pain. So charity becomes sacrifice when there's pain in it. You know, charity without pain is only for Facebook. So now, I think, you know, when I built this product, I told my partner Shashank, who actually built this with me, saying that we need to inspire the world. Today, the medical fraternity is at a very big crossroads where people are questioning the motive of the medical fraternity. We need to show what we care for this society, and we need to disrupt this entire thing. So we went ahead and we actually built a machine at $1. We actually built this voice machine at $1. It's considered among the 100 global disruptions today. This, you know, it's a simple device. It's a simple device that we've created. I'm just happy to showcase. It's just this small. It's just a 1 centimeter device. It just weighs 1 gram. It works on the principle of biomimicry, that you convert your food pipe into a voice box. How many of you all have watched Three Idiots? For those who watched it, there's this very nice line. He says, all is well, bolo. So imagine if you cheat the brain, and if you tell it all is well, it starts converting your food pipe into a voice box. So that's what this machine does. It just cheats the brain and converts the food pipe into a voice box. So today, this is one of the patients. Let's go to this video now.
ಮಾತಾಡಲಿ ಸರ್, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ಗಣೇಶ್ ವಾಘಮಾರೆ ಸರ್. ಐ ಆಮ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಬಾಲ್ಕಿ, ಬೀದರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್, ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ.
ಹೊಸತ್ತು ಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಆಗಿದ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೇಗೆ ಅನ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಿಮಗೆ?
ಸರ್, ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ದೆನ್ ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಸ್ಪೀಚ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ಫೀಲಿಂಗ್ ಕಂಫರ್ಟೇಬಲ್.
ಈಗ ಊಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಏನೋ ತೊಂದರೆ
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್?
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ. ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್. This gentleman is a bank manager from a village, from a small town in Bidar, and he spoke that day because he actually was not able to afford the Western devices when he came for replacement. So today we have about 350 plus patients speaking from across the world with this device, and some of them who haven't spoken for 10 years, 14 years, who are again speaking with this. And this is the gift we give to the world to say that we'll disrupt it. And today we have so many of them who haven't spoken for 10, 14 years, who are now speaking again. You know, the last one was a politician, and many of them were not happy that I made him speak. You know? So, you know, every once in a while, a new technology, an old problem, a big idea can turn into innovation. And I'm here to tell you all of this, that this is it. You know, but I was faced with another more intriguing problem. You know, I was faced with this problem that I had to now make a simple inserter for this device. I had to actually make it, rather than operating room procedure, to an OPD procedure. I had failed for 6 months. I had really struggled a lot, and I was not able to succeed. You know, when things slowed down and I had failed, something terrible happened that day. My wife asked me to come out shopping with her. We've both had a philosophical divide on shopping. She goes to pick up what she wants. I go to figure out what I want. So we just don't end up syncing on this. So I was there with her. My 3-year-old son was with me also, and he was running all helter-skelter, throwing boxes in that area, when he picked up a couple of boxes from the tray and just threw it on the floor. And I went there to salvage it, so I picked up this box, and I found it was a box of tampons. It was like a eureka moment. I just looked at the box and I said, wow, I think I found my solution. So there I was at the billing counter with 10 boxes of tampons, and my wife staring at me, and I had this fear in my face. I was to face her. So she asked me what happened. I said, I solved the problem. And she looked at me and she said, which one? I said, And I said, look, I think I found the solution to the insert. And she stared at me and she said, this is ridiculous. And I said, no, this is R&D. This is what we call R&D. So the next couple of days was only tampons in my car, in the clinic, in the hospital, in the operating rooms. I had contacted the Japanese tampon manufacturers to understand that this is not a medical device. This is just a simple tampon over the counter. So I wanted to make something as simple as that. I went back to my engineers. I showed them the design. You know, my engineer looked at me and said, Vishal, aisa lag raha hai ki you're talking about a toy. You know, so I stared at him and I got scared. And I said, no, look, how many of you have heard about the Occam's razor? So when you're faced with an intriguingly complex problem, you find a very simple solution. Don't complicate the problem. Don't be a politician. So, you know, so I said, this is making sense. So I went back to Channapatna, to a toy maker there, and that was Kaushal Pasha who designed the voice processes inserter for me. It's a simple toy. I'm just going to play this video. You're going to just have a look at it. This is a video that was gifted to us by History Channel. And this is just a little small video that just gives you a brief about this little introduction in a very quick snippet. Can we have the video, please? I'm sorry. Today we are creating the Om voice chain. We actually have been asked by various countries of the world that there is a need for in about 140 countries at least to reach out. I'm now working with the US government, I'm working with the Singapore government, I'm working with the Australian government, I'm working with every possible government to understand how can I solve their problem, how can I actually take this as an outreach, and we created a voice chain around this. We're working on the philosophy that speech is a right, not a privilege. God did not create this half saying that if you pay, you will get voice, and this half, if you don't pay, you won't get voice. You know, all of us equally deserve the right to speak. So there I am, and that's something interesting. You know, when you get this brilliant idea like the way you got this morning and you Google it up, you feel you own it, correct? But His Holiness, when I interacted, gave a very interesting perspective, which I thought I should share with you. He said that an idea comes to you and through you, not from you. And I think, please think of it, it's a very beautiful thing. Every one of us thinks that we own the idea, but an idea is contacting hundreds of us at the same time. And that's the power of an idea. So we created a forum which is copyleft, where we actually started connecting with people to steal each other's ideas. You know, first time when I hosted this forum, I thought this is going to, you know, my boss told me that, no, I don't think anybody's going to appear. But, you know, there was so much of enthusiasm for people to steal that we had about 100 of them come. You know, so we actually advertise saying that people can come and steal each other's idea, because I believe that we are holding on to a lot of useless ideas which are useless in my hands but better in her hands. But I don't want to share with her because she'll get the Nobel Prize and I won't, you know. So we said, let's open up ideas and let's share it, you know. That's where we are. And the larger philosophy it was also to pay it forward, you know. How many of us are here burdened with that thing that somebody has done something so good to you and not asked anything in return? So make a difference, pay it forward, and make a difference on that. So that was the philosophy with which we run Copyleft. I'm going to leave you with these thoughts that if you think something is impossible, don't disturb the person trying to achieve it. Thank you.